El día de hoy tenemos aquí a Bryan, Bitcoin Educator. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay. Well, this is your first time in Colombia.
It is. I've always heard good things about Colombia, but this is the first time that I've actually made it out here.
Okay, what do you think about Bogota?
I like it so far. I mean, the people were super friendly. Love that there's mountains nearby. It creates a very cool effect. I really want to go to Medellin sometime. I want to go visit the rest of Colombia as well. So I've loved my experience so far.
Okay, well, you are Bitcoin Educator. What you can tell us about the future of Bitcoin in our country?
So my understanding of the Colombian crypto culture isn't super deep. That's why I'm here, as I came to speak, but also to learn and hear about how Bitcoin is being used and crypto is being used in this country. And so from what I've seen so far, there's a very large community here. I didn't really realize how big it was. So for me, it's been very encouraging to see how big Colombia is. I would say the community seems as big as Argentina. And Argentina, I think, an American in the West is perceived as a really big crypto culture. So to see this in Colombia is a good surprise.
Okay, well, you are talking about Bitcoin will be or the last currency in the world. You think the dollar will lose her power?
I think over a very long period of time, yes. Well, the dollar loses power every year.
Yeah.
In terms of inflation. Now, I think what you meant is power of will it not be the world reserve currency, the number one? So I don't think that we'll see another currency replace Bitcoin replace the dollar that's a fiat currency. Fiat currencies are based on trust. I don't think the world's going to go trust China more than the U.S.
Okay.
And so that's where I think, a cryptocurrency, and I'm 99% sure it's going to be Bitcoin, would replace the dollar because there wouldn't be any other fiat currency that I think people would want to replace the dollar other than something that's not controlled by anyone else that doesn't have to require trust.
Okay. I can make you a political question.
Sure.
You are Republican, Democratic, or anarcho-capitalist?
The way I like to phrase it is I dislike both American parties equally.
Okay.
I don't like the Republicans and I don't like the Democrats. I'm libertarian.
Okay.
So libertarian be do what you want with your body and do what you want with your money. Pretty simple premise.
I think the people, Bitcoiner, talk about be libertarian and be anarcho-capitalist. What is the difference being, Bitcoiner, you are Bitcoiner, but anarcho-capitalist, you are libertarian. What's the difference?
It's a great question. To the best of my understanding, anarchy or anarcho-capitalist is the complete absence of any government that exists. And I'd say most libertarians they have the idea that there are some services that should be owned by the government. So, for example, maybe police forces or fire departments, or like a military. But for me, the only way that I would be comfortable with those is if they're very, very small. No unions, lots of public scrutiny. Police have to wear the cameras. We get to choose their salaries. We get to audit them. They can't hide behind unions. They can't hide behind false protection. And the military would be very small, just a defensive military, not an offensive military. So that's, I think, the difference between libertarian versus, to the best of my belief, anarcho-capitalism. And I know there's a few different versions of anarchy. There are zero governments, and it's literally almost kind of feudal, little feudal kingdoms of a collection of people that pitch in for their own private security forces and stuff like that.
Okay, well, our question is about Bitcoin. Do you think Satoshi Nakamoto is correct, right?
He's definitely not correct, right? Out of all the people in the world, Satoshi Nakamoto is definitively not him.
Yeah.
You have a better chance of being Satoshi Nakamoto than Craig Wright.
You have theories about who is Satoshi Nakamoto.
Well, sure. Everyone's got their favorite theory. My favorite theory, I think I would have to go with Hal Finney.
You think that?
Hal Finney, he understood Bitcoin intimately. Hal Finney was the first person to transact Bitcoin. He was the second user. Is that coincidence, or is it himself with himself?
Yeah.
Seems a little bit serendipitous that he's the first person. And Hal also, he ghost wrote PGP encryption. And this is in the 1990s when the U.S. government actually considered encryption to be a weapons export. You could go to prison as a weapons trafficker in the United States because of encryption. Eventually, we won that battle because it's a free speech battle. Code encryption is the same thing as speech, and you can't ban that. So Hal Finney ghost wrote PGP encryption, a very important encryption at the time. And he ghost wrote it, which means that he wrote it and gave it to someone else and didn't put his name on it because he realized how dangerous it could be. There's very few people who really understood the need to be pseudonymous or not known. I think out of all the people in the encryption, in the cypherpunk world, cyberpunk, out of all the people that contributed in there, Wade I, Hal Finney, Nick Szabo, I think he knew intimately the most of the need to never be known. And then, of course, he passed away.
Okay.
And that's convenient.
You have a good theory. I have a strange theory.
What's your
For me, it's Dorian Nakamoto.
Historian?
Yeah, her second name is Nakamoto.
I mean, he looks like he could be Satoshi. That's like, it's funny, is his face
Yeah.
Satoshi, right? Like, that was funny when he came out, isn't it? Or he was so funny when the journalist found him. So I don't know if you have a term like this in Colombia, but in America, someone who doesn't have a name, like let's say they found a murder victim and they don't know who it is, but it's a male. They call that a John Doe.
Okay.
But that's not a real name. It's a name of no one's name. John Doe is the name.
Yeah.
So the journalist who found Dorian,
Yes.
she looked for Mr. Nakamoto and found him. And so it's kind of like looking and finding. It's like, oh, who invented this? John Doe did. We go find John Doe. So it's very funny.
Here is similar. Here is your name and something like is a killer. But if you see the publication is a killer of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, based on Satoshi's times where he logged into Bitcoin Talk, that's where Satoshi posted most of his thoughts on Bitcoin. Those time zones only line up with the Americas and Europe, like London. So most probabilistically, he's probably American based on his speaking style and based on when he logged into his computer. So I think it's likely to be an American. Of course, like that might sound biased, but I do think he's likely to be an American based on his login times, his speech. Yeah, so I don't think he's an Asian creator. I think that was definitely something that threw us off his trail.
Okay, well, what's your, I don't know, consejo, yeah.
My what?
Consejo.
What's a consejo?
Like, I'm gonna tell you how you can talk with a girl. What's that?
What do you mean?
I'm gonna say you can be big if you do this, if you think this. That's what?
Like, what are my recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Your recommendations for the people of Colombia about Bitcoin.
So I think that a lot of people look at Bitcoin and one Bitcoin is worth a lot, right? Like a single Bitcoin is worth $27,000. You can buy a small part of a Bitcoin. You can buy one 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I believe, will be the final money. And you have an opportunity to buy into Bitcoin before billions of people across the world get in. Very few people understand Bitcoin and have invested in it. And if you understand why Bitcoin is the best money that's ever existed and you buy in early, that is a investment opportunity. Where I think a lot of people look at Bitcoin as dangerous and highly volatile. That's true. I mean, just like any other stock, Google, Facebook, Amazon, all these stocks fluctuated a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anything new that is disruptive will inherently be volatile. But I encourage people to put a little bit of money into Bitcoin. Maybe $50, $100. I know that like in Colombia, salaries are much lower.
Yeah,
but put in a little bit.
Well, it's a good recommendation. The people in Colombia don't invest in someone. The people prefer get her money down the seed.
Yeah, like cash.
Yeah.
Dollars in there.
And the inflation gonna...
I mean, the dollar lost at least 6% this year. And most Americans believe that number to be bullshit. the CPI number is not an accurate number. The actual inflation rate is far greater, likely to be at like the 15% or so. So, do you want to lose 15% a year? Or do you want to hold on to something a little bit more volatile where you're not guaranteed to lose 15% a year? You might lose some years, but some years you make a lot. It's like any other investment.
Okay, well, Dan, thank you so much for staying here and talk with me.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think you can stay a few days in Bogota later in another year.
I need to come back, yeah.
And city.
I know, I need to. I just came from London. Okay. So I came from London and I was just in Asia. And I go back to Austin and then I go back to Amsterdam on Tuesday. So I need some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. So yeah, I need to come back and spend some quality time here.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bueno, esto ha sido todo con Ángel. Muchas gracias.